Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Let us continue with the chapter Diversity in Living Organisms. Well, in the earlier session, I was discussing about the five kingdom system, and I hope you understand that what is this five kingdom system, right? See, there are the diverse living forms in our surrounding, and to make their study quite easy, they have to be classified into groups, right? And these groups, they are five in number according to five kingdom system. This five kingdom system, it was proposed by Sir Whittaker, R.H. Whittaker, right? And according to this five kingdom system, all living organisms are actually classified into five kingdoms, and these kingdoms are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. Right? So in the earlier sessions, I have already discussed about the basic characteristic features of the kingdom Monera and the Protista. Now in today's session, I'm going to continue, or I'm going to explain the basic characteristic features of the next kingdom, that is fungi. So now let us continue that. So here is the flow chart, which is showing the basic characteristic features of those organisms that belong to kingdom fungi. Right? Kingdom is of course the largest group. It is the largest taxa in which the maximum number of the organisms are present. And these organisms, they are having many dissimilar characteristics, due to which they are further subclassified. So here we will not go into the subclassification of this kingdom, but let us understand the basic features of this group. Fine. So the very first feature is that these organisms are made up of eukaryotic cell. You remember about the Monera and the fungi, the Protista? Monera is the group in which the organisms are made up of prokaryotic cell. They all are unicellular, right? So here this is the very first difference between the organisms of Monera group and the fungi. Next, if I compare it with the Protista, then of course both these groups, they are having the organisms, they are comprised of the organisms which are made up of eukaryotic cells. Fine. So now what is the difference? Why these are these are the two different kingdoms? So you will understand with the further text now. Fungi, it can be either unicellular or multicellular. Protista, it is always unicellular organism. The only unicellular eukaryotic organisms will come under the kingdom Protista. So here now you can make out the difference, why there is a need for this separate kingdom. Fine. So here I am saying that they can be unicellular or multicellular. Fact is that these organisms, they begin their life as a unicellular organism, and further in some of their stage they start living as a colony or as a multicellular organism. The body is not well organized, but the group of cells are specialized so as to perform the various functions. So they can have these two phases in their life cycle, right? So although they begin as their life as unicellular, but they have this property of living as a multicellular colony. Unicellular, they are not observed, they could not be seen by the naked eyes, but multicellular, they could be observed. Fine. In detail we will discuss this point further. And now the next point regarding the group fungi is that all these organisms, usually or mostly, they are having the cell wall. The cell is covered with the dead layer that is known as the cell wall. Now you remember where this cell wall is present? It is present in Protistants as well as in Monerans, but not compulsorily. Some are having and some may not have the cell wall. Fine. Besides this, cell wall is a specific feature of the plant cell. right? The cell which is forming the plant. So you can see that now this fungi is having the similarity with the plant also. But you know what is the difference here? The cell wall in fungi is made up of chitin, whereas in the case of plants it is made up of cellulose. And in the lower organisms, that is the unicellular protista or the monera, the cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan, right? Further, now I can show, you can see that they are having so many similarities with the plant. They are eukaryotic, plants are also eukaryotic. Same is that these are multicellular, so plants are also multicellular. They are having the cell wall, although the chemical composition is different in the two types. Now the further point of similarity is the motility. These organisms, they are non-motile, right? And same is true for the group Plantae. Even these, the organisms which are coming under the group Plantae, is again non-motile. Further, in the case of fungi, the mode of nutrition is heterotrophic. So now here comes the dissimilarity, and it is not a very small difference. It is really, it is a big difference. Fine. In the case of plants, they are strictly autotrophic. In fact, if the organism is autotrophic, it is placed in the plant. It has to be placed in the kingdom Plantae. And definitely, actually, some unicellular, they have been separated from this Plantae group and they were placed in the monera and fungi. But of course, if I say about the multicellular autotrophic organisms, then they are going to be placed in the group Plantae without thinking much about it. Fine. So now this is a big difference. And because of this difference, now I have to take out this organism from fungi, and now it can be related with the animal. Animal group, they all are heterotrophic. You understand what is heterotrophic? Organisms, they are dependent on other sources for their nutrition, either on the dead and decayed material or other living organisms. Fine. So such type of mode is known as the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now, this similarity is going towards the organisms that belong to Animalia group, but here is the difference, that these organisms, they are not ingesting the food material. Getting my point? They do never ingest the food material, whereas in animals that mode is present. They can ingest the food material and they can digest it inside their body. In this case, that is in the fungi, they are absorbing the simplified material from outside, right? And this is the specific feature of the group fungi. So in this case, they are showing saprophytic or parasitic mode of heterotrophic nutrition. That means either they are obtaining or they are absorbing the dead and decayed material from the surrounding, or they are obtaining their food as a simplified material from the living host body. Fine. So this is the basic, although it has a similarity with animals, but here comes the difference. Fine. And definitely the other functions or the other properties I have discussed, these are the differences from the animals. Animal cell, although it is eukaryotic, they are multicellular, but they do not have the cell wall and they are motile, right? So although you can see that there are three similarities: eukaryotic, multicellular and heterotrophic. This is the similarity with the animal group. Then eukaryotic, multicellular with cell wall, non-motile. So this is the similarity with the plant. So now you can see that here is the confusion, that this group should be placed in the Plantae group or in the Animalia. So to remove this particular confusion, the separate new kingdom was introduced, which was named as Kingdom Fungi. The next important feature of this group is that reproduction, which can be either asexual or it can be sexual. They can reproduce by any this mode, like it can be a budding process, or they can reproduce through the spore formation, right? And sexual reproduction is also observed, but the way or the mechanism of the sexual reproduction is very much different from that which occurs in the higher animals. Fine. Further, uh, I just discussed that these organisms, they are multicellular. Although initially they are unicellular, but further they lead a multicellular life. But in this group, this multicellular organisms, they are having the body organization which is very much different from other organisms, other higher multicellular organisms. There is a peculiar body organization. So let me discuss that part now. So this fungi, as I said, it can be unicellular or it can be multicellular. So guys, you understand, you know very well that if any organism is made up of only a single cell, then definitely it cannot be observed, it could not be seen by the naked eyes. So these organisms, if they are unicellular, I can call them as the microscopic fungi. Whereas if it is multicellular, then it could be named as the macroscopic. Fine. Macroscopic, that can be observed, that can be seen with the naked eyes. That is what the important feature here to understand now. The organisms which are actually microscopic, that group is known as the yeast. See, this is not a very it is not a small difference. It is a very big difference, and this is therefore becoming a base for the subclassification of these organisms. So initially I can only say one thing, that microscopic fungi is known as the group yeast. And one of the example of yeast is the Saccharomyces. Saccharomyces is actually a genus. Fine. And in this there are many different species. One of the example I can quote here is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Fine. Besides that, there are many examples. On the other hand, these multicellular organisms, they are also of different types. One of the group is mold and the another one is the mushroom. The example of these molds is Aspergillus, Penicillium, bread mold, then there can be a mucor or Rhizopus. All these are the examples of the molds. On the other hand, the example of mushroom is Agaricus. You must have heard this name, mushroom. Commonly you must have heard it. But you just know one thing, that mushrooms, they are of different types. They can be edible, they can be inedible. That means they are safe to eat, or there may be some species that should not be eaten up. And they are having different uses also. Fine. Besides this, if I'm saying it is unicellular, then they are living as a colony. And if I am discussing about macroscopic, then I must say that the body is having a several type of simple type of organization. That is, let me show you the next flowchart so as to understand that part. So these multicellular organisms are having a filamentous body structure. Fine. And these filaments, there are the specific parts which are specialized and are serving as different they are serving for different functions. Fine. So basically the filamentous body structure, you know what is meant by this? It means that there are some thread-like structures, and these thread-like structures, they are known as the hyphae. Then many threads together, they constitute the structure known as the mycelium. The mycelium or the hyphae, these are the non-reproductive parts of the body of the fungus. Fine. And some of the hyphae or some of the mycelium, they are having the developed structure over it, which is known as the sporangium. So such type of hyphae which are bearing these sporangium, they are the reproductive parts. So in short, I must say that the multicellular fungi or the macroscopic fungus, it shows some differentiation in its body organization, where the body is having the reproductive parts and the non-reproductive parts. The reproductive parts are known as the sporangiophore, which I can define as the mycelium which is bearing the spores or the sporangium. You can see this picture here. In this, these thread-like structures are present. These thread-like structures, they are labeled here as the stolon. So the stolon, they are actually nothing but the mycelium or the hyphae. Fine. Then these vertical structures are there, on which this round structure is present, which is known as the sporangium. So this sporangium bearing a stalk is known as the sporangiophore. Fine. Inside this sporangium, there is the presence of the spores, and these spores are actually meant for the reproduction process. So this is how these organisms, they reproduce by the process of spore formation. Well, further, now I can give you some of the examples with pictures of both type, microscopic as well as the macroscopic fungi. So this picture is shown here, which is the yeast, and the specific example of this is the Saccharomyces. Fine. These organisms, this is a single mother cell, in which there is a prominent nucleus, there is the cytoplasm, a vacuole, and the reserve food bodies are there. Fine. And such organisms, they usually reproduce by asexual method, which is known as the budding. So through the budding, they are forming this outgrowth, and through this they can form the entire colony. The next example is that of mold. Fine. So different molds, as I mentioned, is the aspergillium. Aspergillium, that means a singular form. Fine. Then penicillium, mucor, rhizopus, etc. So this example, this diagram you can see here, the first one is the aspergillus and the another one is the penicillium. So you can see that they are having the this stalk-like structure over which these round bodies are present. Can you make out any difference between these two organisms? See, the here you can see this in the aspergillus, they are having this initial stalk-like structure, which is further forming this cone-like body, right? This circular structure is formed, and over that these small bodies are produced. Fine. Whereas in the case of penicillium, a single stalk is there, and further there is the branches, and these branches are further forming the other parts. So this is actually the basic difference here. And not only this, this is just related to its look, I can say, or its structure, but functionally and according to its internal structure, there is a lot of difference. Thus these are the two different species. Fine. Now next is the mushroom. So here is this one example, that is agaricus mushroom. It is an agaricus. You can see that mushrooms, they are having this basic stalk-like structure, and at the top the umbrella shaped structure is there in short. Fine. Semi spherical or hemisphere is there over the top, and at the base there is the stalk-like structure. So these are some of the examples of fungus or the fungi group. Now the important feature that I must highlight here is that all these organisms are non-motile, but the spores, right, the spores are actually they can move from one place to another. Now for that, they do not have any locomotory part, rather they are transmitted through the air or through the water or through different other mediums. So this motility in these organisms is basically because of external factors. Next thing important is that all these organisms, they are heterotrophic in they follow the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, and in that they are basically absorbing the dead or the decaying material. So these are the basic important features and examples of this group. further important thing that I must discuss with you is about the lichens. So what are these lichens? Let us understand. So this lichens is the group in which the algal and the fungal species are living together. They are not only living together, but they are fulfilling the need of each other. That means they are providing advantage to each other. So such type of interaction between the algal and the fungal partner in which both are getting advantage. Such interaction or such relation is known as the symbiotic association. So it's clear that lichens, it can be defined as the symbiotic association between the algal and the fungal species, where both organisms are providing advantage to each other. So basically in general terms also, if you understand, then symbiotic association is the close interaction between the two different organisms, where each organism or each partner is getting some advantage. So of course these lichens is the example of such symbiotically associated organisms. Fine. Now these organisms, that is the lichens, they are observed as the slow growing bodies which are having the hard texture, right? And they are having the different colors, or they are observed as the colored patches on the rocks or in the bark of on the bark of the trees, or even sometimes on the ground. So this is what the texture. See, in the monsoons, generally in the rainy seasons or in the moist conditions, you can observe that there are some patches on the rocks or on the bark of the trees. So basically, what are they? They are the lichens. You know one thing, that the lichens are having one important property that is related to its tolerance power. Let me show you. These organisms, they have the property according to which it can tolerate the prolonged drought condition or even the drastic changes in the temperature. So although initially they grow in the moist or different conditions, but they are having the prolonged tolerance against the moisture as well as the temperature. Despite of this important property, they are highly sensitive to the air pollution. If there is a high level of sulfur compounds in the air, definitely these organisms will be deteriorated. There is the slow growth of these organisms, and maybe there is a very less less patches that you can observe in the area where there is the high air pollution. Fine. Here is the picture that I have shown here. These are the lichens which are growing over the rocks. Fine. Further, I said that the lichens, they are the symbiotic, it is a symbiotic association between algae and fungi. In this, now you can observe very easily that there are two partners in this association. One of it is algae, another one is the fungus. Algae is known as the phycobiont, whereas fungi is the mycobiont. Phycobiont means the one which is autotrophic. The algae is able to synthesize its own food, and whereas this fungi, it is heterotrophic in nature, but it is having the absorption power. It can absorb the things from surrounding, right? So in this association, algae being autotrophic, it can provide the nutrition to the fungus, whereas the fungi, it is heterotrophic, so it cannot synthesize its own food, so that part is actually fulfilled because of its another partner, that is algae, right? On the other hand, it is providing advantage to the algal partner also. You know how? It is by absorbing the water and mineral from surrounding and supplying it to the algae for the photosynthesis. Not only this much, this partner also provides protection to the undergrowing algae. So now you can see that these two organisms, they are living together and how they are providing advantage to each other. So students, this is all about the fungi group, and next we will study about the next kingdom. So till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.